All right, today, are you ready for some secrets to success? I'm going to go over a few things that are going to show you some of the principles and foundational basics, we'll say, that help you get to success. And this is in a world of he said, she said, fake news, all this BS everywhere. If you start to look around or really investigate with people, especially in the political field, you'll hear people that are convinced of one thing and some other people that are convinced of something that's actually the legit opposite of what these people believe. And if you know both the people, you're like, wait a minute, you're both good people. How do you believe this so radically? And then you believe that so radically. And I'm not going to get into politics. I'm just saying that it's more of a mindset of where your mind is on what you're going to believe. And none of that really matters in the first place. So the concept of this is just the idea of saying, do you know how to discern truth and information? And to what level is it? Because, someone can say, oh, this is the truth, but then you can take it a little deeper. For example, if someone were to assume something about another person, well, this person is doing XYZ, that would be like, well, how would you know there's no truth to it or anything else? Let's say you watched someone grab onto a little kid, that someone like a guy, he grabs onto a little kid, and you're like, oh, that guy's aggressive, right? That would be the truth from what you could see. What you may not have been able to see is that this little kid was trying to pick up a spider. And so he grabbed this kid and yanked this kid back, and you weren't close enough to understand the situation. And so there's a deeper truth to that. And part of this truth assessment, the discernment, is the idea of like, who are you listening to, or who do you listen to? And in our world, we're so quick to attach to an authority, to say like, who is the authority and how do I listen to this person, or I'm going to listen to this person. So in other words, if you're inspired by someone and you're listening to them and you're kind of plugged into them and you believe them and you trust them and there's all this going on, and then they tell you something, you take it in almost as factual. It begins to come right in. And this principle of who do you listen to goes pretty deep. So this isn't really so much as a podcast as more like a training to get some information out to help people understand that what you hear, what you see is not always going to be the reality of the situation. It can go many levels deep. So I hope you can take this and look at it and say, this could deepen your understanding. This could help you figure out that what you assume is not the truth. A lot of people that are broke assume that rich people are assholes per se, or whatever it is. So let's go back and figure out like, okay, well, why do we make these assumptions, or who do we listen to naturally? If you go back to the time of your birth, you're automatically put in a position where you don't know what's going on. You've got these emotional needs, you've got other needs, you're trying to gain some significance, because it's like, as human beings, we need this contact, we need this functional touch, this sense that we're a part of something, and without it, we're nothing. And if you go back to in some like very indigenous tribes, the worst thing that could happen to a person was to be exiled from the tribe. And often it would result in death, not killing them or anything else, but just casting them out, and being solitude and not having any human connection. And they would often just die. That's how important connection is in our world. But in an unhealthy way, many people get connection through these falsehoods, these, you know, social media presences, in anything they can do. And even deeper so in a world where the society and the worldly people and everything have no authority in their lives. And so they've created this authority that, oh, women can do what men can do, and men can do this, and oh, there's no more genders or anything else. So a little kid is just confused. They're picking, you're my authority, right or wrong, you're going to be my authority. And now I need to get some significance from you so that I can have importance and I can feel like I have a place to be. So if the place to be winds up being a very bad situation, now that becomes the discerning path they're going to take. And with no authority, with no proper plan or anything else, you got to ask, well, where do you think they're going to wind up? Often in a more traumatic place. They're going to create what they've had. They're going to manifest it because, law of attraction, like attracts like. They're going to just draw in more of that of which they experienced. And then the more of the bad stuff that they experience, the more credibility they have against the people that are helping them create that experience. So they're like, oh, these people are bad, even though they may not be. But when you treat them a certain way, they come at you a certain way. And, it's just like the political thing. I'm not going to talk politics, but I'm going to reference it. Someone can say, well, liberals are crazy, or Democrats are crazy, or Republicans are racist, or they're this, or they're that, right? And so when someone is like coming at you and then you come back, then it's like, yeah, see, they're an asshole. And it confirms your belief in what you think is true. And so I'm gonna go back and say, well, the first thing is, I've said this before, is the authority ultimately is going to be God. And if you don't believe that, then I got nothing to help you with. Like there's no point. And what a lot of people will call like source, source energy, um, the universe. I mean, okay, like if you needed to use that, that's fine with me, but that's God. Okay, but the universe can't have authority, right? The idea of law of attraction, there is no authority. And I'm not going to go too like spiritual on this. There just has to be something that says where does the truth lie? And it is confusing because the next thing that happens is somebody that doesn't have the truth picks up a Bible and starts preaching from it and creates a religion, and then that religion begins to help people feel more pressure, judgment, ridicule, these different things, and then they turn away from God. So God is not religion. God is just the authority. Let's just keep it at that on a very basic level. As you listen to me, you're going to be discerning the information that I say based on your filters. Now, what is a filter? What is discernment? A filter is like a set of rules when it comes to discernment. If, for example, if somebody were to say to me, well, the devil's not real. Okay. Most likely I'm going to filter them out as saying they have no idea what they're fucking talking about because I grew up in a religion where they taught me all about the devil. Now, I don't think the devil's a lot of things some people think they are. I have my beliefs around that and everything else. But I'm gonna slow down a little bit. I, for some reason, developed a very high sense of discernment in asking the question to myself, they're saying he's not real. I believe that there is some truth to who the devil is. I don't understand it. And this is all hypothetical. Okay. Like I'm not the authority here. It's just a conversation that happens in my mind. But maybe their version or what they believe is something that actually lines up with a lot of what I believe. Maybe not 100%, but so then I investigate further to see if there's common ground or not. It doesn't matter. But some people, if you try to tell them God isn't real, the devil isn't real, whatever, they instantly shut down and they quit listening to you, right? You've triggered something inside of them where they listen to an authority figure, programmed them, and now if you break the boundary, they no longer listen to you. Period. It's just like when I start talking about God, somebody that doesn't believe it, they're shut, right? Their filters, their set of rules just said this guy's an idiot, and they quit listening. And I will get to the point of why this is such an important and valuable success tool to getting very, very high levels. And I'm going to reference some things, especially in the coaching world, that are happening nonstop that are just absolute bullshit. So when you have these set of rules, let's go back to childhood. First off, if you grew up rich, you might have a set of rules that says, I can have everything I want. And that's how you roll. And you have these experiences. If you're poor and it's like, well, you have to work hard for your money. Okay. Well, that means you're probably going to have to work hard for your money because if money fell in your lap and you didn't have to work hard for it, you're going to feel guilty for it because it's not supposed to happen, right? Because somebody told you, not the highest authority, but somebody who is an authority. So, like I said, we need connection. So we begin to listen to our parents. So let me give you a a scenario that happens on how easy authority can jack up the subconscious of a child. let's think about a kid, small kid, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, having a ball. And this kid's in a room and they're doing their thing and they're curious as all get out. They're getting into shit that they're probably mom wouldn't or dad wouldn't agree with. And they find the most wonderful thing ever called a magic marker. And they take this magic marker and they're like, oh man, like this thing's amazing because it's like just this inanimate object. And then you touch it to something and it makes stuff. Like this is amazing. And so this little child is just absolutely fascinated by this thing, right? And so next thing you know, they're drawing on everything. And so in their room, they're scribbling all over the walls and dressers and bed and their themselves and everything else. And they're just gloriously having a ball, right? And then mom or dad walks in and loses their freaking mind. Now this could be anywhere from, let's say mom and dad had a bad day at work. They can't afford it. This is a rental. They can't afford that. Like all this stress on them. And they come in and see this and they just break, right? And they grab the kid, they rip the marker out of their hand, they whoop their ass, they tell them not to move. And the whole time they're cleaning up the mess, they're grumpy, angry, and everything. And effectively, what has just happened is this kid has now done one of the funnest things ever and got absolutely terrifyingly punished for it. And so their subconscious mind says, it doesn't say don't ever write on walls again. It says never have fun and be creative ever again because it was too painful. And now you're screwed because now every experience you go through, even though consciously as you grow up, you'll be thinking I should be having fun. I should do this, but you've got to second guess every move and you got to consciously move into it and you're like scared to do it. And so you go from creative and abundant and maybe outgoing extrovert to hiding introvert because I don't want to get in trouble. So every time I feel like I'm having fun, I got to repress myself so that I can do something different, right? This is from authority figure into programming the subconscious, and now it has a negative effect, right? So you can imagine that if you want to be programmed properly and your parents are not perfect, mine definitely weren't. I'm not, like I pride myself on being pretty good, but but I understand that like I'm nowhere near in like even like 0.001 something, not even that much in understanding of what the understanding or forgiveness or ability that Christ or God has. So that's why I'm saying like God has to be the authority because if I am the authority, I have betrayed my kids. And my parents have betrayed me and so on, et cetera, right? But when God is the authority, it's like God gives us grace, so therefore they get grace, and I get grace, right? And so if I get grace, I'm not going to judge anybody else, and so it opens up my filters and my discernment a little bit. But it still doesn't mean I'm gonna be fun and open and doing whatever. I'm still going to be a little bit resistant and drawn back. Probably, most likely, if I'm programmed that heavily, it almost becomes a character trait instead of just a trauma trait. So there's things where I have to do where I'm going, there could be a consequence. However, I'm going to do it anyway, or I'm going to do this. I'm going to, so the mind is working its magic or doing whatever it does. And so when you go out and you begin to do things or listen to people, if you see a famous person and they're saying, "Oh, this is what needs to happen," and you're buying into it because they're famous and you have this strong emotional connection and everything else, and you're just buying into it without asking any questions, well, you're probably going to get betrayed at some point. And a lot of times what happens is someone will hear something like from a politician or a famous person, and they'll hear something and then they will defend it so aggressively that once they defend it, so let me give an example. If you look at the I don't know that I should use a recent example, but um just it's going to go into politics if I do that. So if you look at something someone said and you believed it, let's just give a reference of one political person or something was like, oh, this happened. And then that figure that you believe in says, no, no, that didn't happen. That's fake. Or no, they just deny it. Right. And you're like, yeah, they denied it. And then they come up with some story that avoids it. Right. and then someone else says, no, here's evidence that this is true, you won't even hear it, right? And then on top of that, some people go as far as berating the other person. So now they feel wrong. So then they attack. And once they attack, now they've embedded a decision that says, now I have to hold my ground or I'm a fool. And in today's age with social media and everything else, embarrassment is a worse punishment than being punched in the face. So once you've doubled down on your decision to have this discernment that this is whatever, it's actually a lack of discernment, and then you take a physical action towards somebody on that, now you have to uphold it or you're really a fool. So you see how this pattern goes down and the mind shuts down and you're on a one track path. And so that's basically how most of our world is running right now. Someone says something, someone believes it, or they absolutely reject it, and then you have a divided highway that's just going completely separate directions and nobody's getting anywhere because there's no middle ground. So these filters are something that you have to have success. You have to be able to go in and consciously challenge your own filters to say, is that true? Now, there's a great book by Byron Katie, Loving What Is, that really teaches people how to, kind of open up and say, well, is that true? There's a stack app that Garrett White uses, kind of developed and used, that's designed to take someone's anger and revert it back around and find the truth in it. And what I found is most people using that have no fucking idea how to properly use it. There are very few of us that can actually come full circle in a stack that gets to the conclusion that's required. Most of them just get to a conclusion where they're like, oh, I guess I should have done this. And it's like, no, there's a psychological process happening here that's far in depth to anything else. But first, you got to start telling the truth. And if you're not telling the truth, then you allow yourself to stay stuck in a loop of falsehoods. Again, if you don't put God as the authority, then you become the authority or someone else becomes the authority and you will betray. They will betray, hands down. So it comes like this conversation of who do you listen to is never going to be found in 100% truth. You have to stack the deck in your favor, saying, well, first, if I can connect it to God in some way, it's probably going to be to my benefit. Then I got to connect it to the person that's the most honest. Then I got to connect it to the way I feel, because honest, it doesn't matter if it is the truth. If I don't feel good about it, I can't always accept it. And sometimes I understand that. It's like, well, I'm so hardwired programmed this way that even if you tell me this, I'm going to reject you. But it could be true. And so if that's the thing, then I just keep my mouth shut and go, you know what? Let's turn it over to God, and I'm going to let Him show me at the right time that I need to know. And I'm just going to kind of go, you know what? I can see two sides here. I don't know. And so I open up. But if you get stuck in this, I'm listening to this person, now I'm listening to this person, you're chasing the squirrel around, you're never going to get anywhere. And so now I want to kind of address this idea in the coaching industry or whatever, of how this happens. No one, well, even on social media, no one's asking for the truth. No one's qualifying the answers. No one is fact checking for themselves. It's pretty hard to do because you can't even get the correct information on Google anymore, because it's all filtered to get you to believe what their agenda is. And so you got to start asking these better questions of what is the truth, is this true, or whatever. And so somebody posts like I get a kick out of these. They post these things about Wyoming because nobody knows most of the time where Wyoming is, what Wyoming is, or anything else. But it's a state with the smallest population in the United States. And they've got Yellowstone, they've got some other things. And so they'll run these ads of, like, I saw one where they said, baby mammoth preserved miraculously from the deep permafrost, was exposed during this eruption in Yellowstone of a geyser, and somebody makes this elaborate story, right? That's very well written, right? And then these people believe it. And it's like, did anybody ask, is this true? Did anybody double check? Did anybody like look in the comments to be like, is this real? Is this fake? To kind of get around to figure it out. And they'll just take it and run with it. So when you're emotionally motivated, like the political stuff, when somebody hears something that they want to hear that's negative about the other guy, then they just repeat it before checking it themselves. They want to tell everyone else to fact check their shit, but they don't, that like the other person's stuff, but they never fact check the shit they're sharing. So no one's listening to anybody with any sense. And in the recent sales world and gimmick world and everything, you guys have probably seen this, where AI can take my voice, my face right now, and turn it into me saying the opposite of what I'm saying right now. If you wanted to, it's fake as shit. I think there's some lawsuits out there right now on some people, and people are having to run ads and saying this is not me promoting this product, trying to battle against it. That's the world we live in, right? So you really got to understand what discernment and what filters mean, and get to some level of like, is this person that I am following telling me the truth? Are you telling you the truth, or are you telling you the version of the shit that you want to know so that you can run off? Right. Like, I've had very close people in my life tell me that because God told them this is what they're going to do. Well, one thing I do know is God doesn't tell you to break your word. And this person broke their word to a lot of people in this action. That is, I don't care who you are. Like I said, God becomes the authority. So whatever's in the word becomes truth. And I'm not saying how people want to skew the word, because everybody's going to do that a little bit. But I think everybody can agree that one of the things you don't want to do is break your word, because like if you have any relevance to law of attraction, source energy, God, Jesus, any of these things, all of those things will tell you keep your word, or what's going to happen, right? Like, the energy you put out is what you get. So you make promises to someone, you break your promises, what are you going to get? It's not going to be pretty. No matter how you want to look at it, not going to be pretty. So look at this idea of what are you listening to? So the next time you feel the emotional pull of someone selling you into something, this one pisses me off, where someone says, "Oh, I got these clients and I put them in this program, and this program was this much money, and then they turned around and sold $100,000 in their first 2-3 months," right? Well, you go look at it and what these people are selling, and it was like a 2-year program for, you know, $5,000 a year or whatever. And when it comes down to it, these people are like, as they went through 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 month, 6 months, I talked to them. They're making less than a lot of people make at a job, but it's being promoted as a 6-figure earner. But it's so drawn out. I remember one specific one where a gal started coaching and she sold 3 people. I think it was 3 people. It was like $27,000. And this was like the prime talking point. Yeah, the first month, $27,000. Well, $27,000 over 6 months is not a big deal. And that was all she made. She for some whatever reason, she couldn't close anybody after that, and just struggled and fought, and like, I don't know where she's at now, but this person did not make a lot of money. It was a very small amount of money, but it was projected as something different, right? You have to have discernment in how that is spoken. And when people tell you, hey, this is going to work for you, well, truth be told, no one knows if it's going to work for you, because you're the one that has to work it. And if you're not willing to work it, there's not, like, the perfect system in the world isn't going to work, because you're not perfect and it's not perfect. I don't give a shit what anybody says. And, I heard this. I don't, I mean, I can go on with this for a while if I wanted to, but there's kind of a simple, basic rule of thumb that says, who do you listen to? And you should only listen to people that have been where you are and now have what you want, because they're the ones that can show you the path most of the time. Unless this person has an agenda, that means putting money in their pocket, that means they like, do they care about you? And would you know? Probably not. So if you're going to step in the arena of, this person can show me, but I'm going to pay this person as a coach or whatever to show me, you still have to understand that they might have their own agenda. You might have your agenda. You might not do what they say. Will you get valuable information? Most of the time, absolutely. But if you become a victim in it, you're not going to get any of it. But I just want you to understand that just because someone says so, just because there's this authority figure, someone you put on a pedestal and you put them there and said, oh, look at them. Like it's just this thing that happens because we're emotional beings. But if you are willing to pause, look at it, assess it, you go, okay, it appears like this person knows what they're doing. It appears like this person has been where I was or similar. It appears like this person knows a lot of the details of my life because I think they experienced them. They're saying all the right things, they're doing all the right things and everything else. So this person is also claiming results with these people. Okay, well, what are these people's results? So you go investigate, right? Typically, no one goes through those steps. They just kind of get emotional and they purchase, right? They just purchase and then jump in and then wonder why it doesn't work. However, if you actually slow down, take a breather, and go ask these questions and get into that, and you begin to say, oh, okay, well, this person's been where I was, but that was 10 years ago, right? So if they're here now and they have what I want, is that going to take me 10 years? Well, I can tell you, if they're telling they're going to get you from there to here, the 10-year path in 6 months, they're full of shit. Maybe 2 years. That would be light speed, right? So don't buy into the bullshit. Like, don't buy into your own, bag of hope. That's not hope. It's more like, I don't know, lottery mentality bullshit. Don't do that. Investigate it. And then after you've investigated it, you can look at it like I do. I don't know if it's true or not, but I can see something happening. I like what I see. There's definitely some similarities here. There's something I can learn, and I'm willing to spend the money to learn some of this. Whether it works for me or not is not important to me at this point. I want it to, but worst case scenario, if I get this, I'll be okay. And so when I've gone in and spent tens of thousands of, at this point, million plus in personal development, and sometimes I paid for one once and I walked out 40 minutes in because I was like, I was pissed. I was fucking angry because what these people were teaching was so basic level shit that I was angry that they were collecting money and I wasn't. I was fucking pissed. And it was just pathetic. It was just like, I was just like, oh my God, they're seriously teaching like fucking kindergarten. And I'm over here teaching fucking university shit to coaching clients, but they're getting paid and I'm not. What the fuck are they doing that I'm not? It was just mind blowing to me. But it was a great lesson. That 2 grand I spent or whatever, like that's a valuable lesson. 40 minutes, I saw exactly what I needed to see. I'm not fucking marketing very good, right? Rather than go in and spend 2 grand and waste 40, 50, 100 hours of my time getting another certification or something that to say that, ooh, look at me, now I can do it. Yeah, it's got nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with marketing. So there's a big difference in looking at something, what someone says, and then discerning it and saying like, well, who are you listening to? Who is the authority in your life? Are you even the authority in your life? Because ultimately, what you have to listen to is yourself. And if it feels good, you move. If it doesn't, you don't. If you care about the result so much that it's going to throw you off, then you're fucked. Like you gotta change something. You got to discern something. You have to change the filter so that you can hear the information you need to hear. Ultimately, this always comes down to where's your desire at? Because if your desire is big enough and it's aligned and it's correct, that's what will open the filters to say, you know what, maybe I don't know I don't know what I don't know. Maybe there's more to this than I can see. And I'm just one of those guys that yeah, I'm going to do some marketing. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this or whatever. But when it comes down to the face-to-face conversation, there's some people I look at them and tell them, you're not ready. And they're like, well, yeah, I'll do anything. Yeah, we'll see. Do you know how many people I've done that with? Oh, I'll do anything. Do you know how long they do anything for? Less than a fucking month. And then when the coaching doesn't work, do you know what they do? They try to blame me for their fucking failures. It's like, no, fuck you. You didn't do what I said. Don't you fucking come in here and do this. And by the way, you're fired. Like, and so anymore, I'm like, I don't need clients that are going to waste my fucking time, devalue the effects that I have. When over here, this guy's doing what I said. This girl's doing what I said, and they're fucking crushing it. And it's not even all the time what I said. It's what they told me, and then I helped them see it, and then they took action. Then it works. But if your dream isn't big enough, you don't need me as a coach. You need some motivational shit to get your dream bigger. That's all you need. Go get some motivational shit. Go hit Tony's UPW. Get inspired a little bit, then get with a good coach that's going to hammer you with the right questions to expand your mind. Once your mind expands, maybe you need a coach. Maybe, I mean, it's always good to have a coach, but at a high level, if you're not going to produce high level results, you're not going to have a high level coach. If you're willing to produce some results, there's a lot of coaches out there that can help you think different, do different, see things different. Most of people's challenges are not with, something someone else can give them. It's something, it's like a form of support that happens. And so a high level of emotional capacity is more important than knowledge, because knowledge is free these days. You get online, you can find it. It doesn't matter. So use some of that free knowledge to discern some of the information you're taking in. So think about this. There's something you want. There's something you're going after. There's this desire inside of you. Shut down the noise around you, right? Turn it off, find a quiet place and start listening to yourself. Even if you got to put a meditation to guide your mind so your mind's not running over to this negative space, put yourself in a state that your mind can go to a place that says, what do I need to know? And after you've slowed yourself down a little bit, then stick your nose in a book that's going to guide you to that place. Some of the best coaching tools you'll ever use are the things that you can find in a book to help you overcome those objections or stories or battles that you're dealing with to hit that next success level. Or you can listen to something like this podcast training, whatever you want to call it. And if you are listening to this, then you can go into where where is this going to affect you in your life? Does it have to do with your kids? Does it have to do with your spouse? Does it have to do with your job? Does it have to do with your sales? Does it have to do with what? How, like, where do you need help? And then apply it to that situation. You could listen to this over and over again, and it's going to help you see things different. So keep it in mind on all the things that you're chasing and going after. Have you discerned them? Have you fact checked them? Have you gone through this slow down emotional process to get your bearings to go like, is this the right decision? Or is this my emotions taking over because I just want to fix it right now? I just want it right now. Just slow down and ask, who am I actually listening to? And where does God show up in your life? Because that's ultimately where I source most everything. You know what? I'm challenged with this decision right here. I need some help. Like, I'm going to turn it over to God, and at some point, I'm going to get an answer. And once I feel like that's the answer, I'm going to go. So there's sometimes when things are going, and then disaster, and I'm like, well, I guess that wasn't supposed to go, because I'm praying to God to help with me to get to this place. I don't necessarily look at it and go, God, make sure that this happens this way, that tomorrow it's sunny, and then get mad when it's not. That's stupid. But I might say, you know, just help that I have a great month, and that there's joy in my life, and that I'm making progress towards the goals that I want to achieve of a better relationship, family, more success and money, these different things. And so if there's a shit show on the path, I'm like, must supposed to have been there. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know, but it must have obviously supposed to have been there. So what else do I need to work on? And I just take small growth steps, day after day, day after day. Make sure that you're plugging in. You plug into audios, books, events, and do meditations, visualizing, write out your dreams, your goals, do these different things. Because that's how you change your life. And every single person that has ever dramatically changed their lives has done those steps, maybe not knowing it with a few, but they begin to listen to things differently because their desire is so high, they know they have to change, and they make the changes to do it. So please take my words when I'm telling you that and you've heard some of my story if you've listened to this, where I came from. I grew up in a trailer house in the middle of Wyoming. Nothing, not shit. I started working at a young age. I began hustling for money, mowing lawns for relatives. And that's where I first began making money. And then I got in the shop, started, like, hey, will you pay me to do this? Or hey, if you do that, I'll pay you this. And then by the time I was, 12, I was already an expert in multiple fields, in auto body work, in doing some mechanic work. I was running heavy equipment. And, that was who I was. But then I learned more and more, and then I became an expert coach. I become an expert in detox. I become, like all these different things. And I'm not bragging. I'm just saying, if you don't think that I've got something to offer, have you asked the right questions? You know, where have I been physically? What are my physical challenges? How much have I changed my physical body? You don't even know, because I don't really talk about that much. But it's probably, once you hear it, you'd be like, oh, maybe he does have something to offer. When you hear the story about how I grew up, where this was, the how I, shattered my leg once and healed it without any pins, needles, metal, nothing, and it never bothers me anymore. Like blew one bone into 15 pieces, broke joints, everything. No more, no problems. How I used to get sick every year, now I don't. These different things. How I went from no money to making my yearly salary in a weekend. How the went into the millions and then lost it all, like lost everything, like worst case scenario, slandered in the media, all that. Come back from that, built another company, lost it again. But I moved quick. I moved up and down. So if you don't think I don't understand your challenges, test me. Let's find out. Ask the question, see what's there, and then you can begin to listen after you've discerned. So stop listening to people fucking selling you all day, every day, and start asking the questions, what do I want? And is it true? And then move from there. So I hope this makes sense on this basic principle of who do you listen to, using proper discernment and filters that are not triggers, but looking at it and educating yourself on those things, and then validating the information you're hearing so that you can make the wisest decision and know that no matter what happens after that, it was to your benefit. And that's where you can build a foundation that will propel you into success at a dramatic level, and also give you a stature of authority that most people do not even comprehend. And when you stand in that place, your manifesting ability exponentially goes up because your energetic state is secure. It can't be thrown off because you've already discerned all the little factors. You don't have fear, and you move with power. So I hope that helps. You guys have a wonderful day. And if you haven't, jump into our, like I'm inviting everybody into the membership. I mean, if you're not in there, you should be in there. If it's not a lot of money. If you're the person that wants to come in at a higher level, then reach out to me directly so that we can have a conversation and I can tell you what else I'm doing, because I've got some high level, like complete transformational type things that comes with it, full body detox and things like that. So, and then, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Reach out if you're thinking like, hey, I need to take a jump here and maybe there's something here to offer. Then we're going to find out if listening to me is the right thing for you to do. All right. So have a wonderful day. We'll see you next week or inside the membership. Bye.